I got you.
All right, creatures of the night. Welcome to Talking Taker, episode 209 of our encyclopedic exploration, digging up the career of the greatest professional wrestling character of all time, The Undertaker. My name is Alex Dorio. I want to thank you for joining us for yet another round of Dead Man Talking. And I want to welcome in my co-host, my tag team partner, my wrestling buddy, my fellow member of the Pod Street crew. If you're watching on video right now, you can see that he is trapped in the closet, but not in the casket, thankfully. Rather be in the closet than in the casket. Mr. Travis White. Travis, my man, would you consider yourself a history buff?
Oh, absolutely.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Love
history.
How did you do in AP US history in school?
First test I ever failed was the first one. And after that, I got back together. Wound up getting a great A in that class.
Okay.
But that was literally my favorite class in high school. So,
well, we're not
that's
doing.
Our teacher, probably.
Yeah.
Woo!
He was a big wrestling fan.
Himself.
Yeah.
He was.
This is not AP US history. This is AP UT history, as in The Undertaker history. And this is a special course that we're offering here tonight to our listeners. The complete history of the casket match. It's going to be a very unique episode, something like this we've never quite done before, but we're going to explore the origins, the evolution, the history of the Undertaker's signature match, the match that has been synonymous with his career across almost all 30 years of his career. Yeah. He had a casket match throughout almost all of those years, and we're going to talk about the origins of it. We're going to talk about how it originated before The Undertaker even existed, before he was even a wrestler. We had the casket match's origins. We'll talk about all the major ones, all the ones on pay-per-view and TV, and our memories of those and how it changed, how it evolved, what the best ones were. We're going to explore all of the unaired casket matches. There are so many house show, dark match, untelevised casket matches with some very unique opponents. So we're going to talk about some of those, some that we wish we would have seen, and then how the casket match has gone beyond even The Undertaker with other casket matches in WWE and then throughout TNA, AEW, and how it continues to evolve. So we'll get to all of that here in a little bit. But, before we jump into everything, Travis, just, kind of set the stage. Tell us, what is the casket match? What is the importance of it to The Undertaker's career? I mean, what just comes to mind, initial thoughts when you hear the words casket match?
The first thing I see when I hear casket match is Rumble 94. That's the first thing I see, and then those old vignettes from when we were children of him building the caskets. It's such an important piece of the mythology of the character. We talked early on in this series about how the time he debuted, everybody was a character, but they had so much backstory and so many just nuanced things to go along with him. He is an Old West Undertaker. That was the original,
Right.
thing with him. Then he became like the Dead Man type, zombie-ish guy. But anyway, I'm just saying, like, it's part of his character. He is the casket match. You can't say 25 years, 35 years from now, people can say casket match, Undertaker's going to be the first guy pops their mind, not Darby Allin, not anybody else. It's going to be Undertaker. So.
Absolutely. It's such a part of the lore of The Undertaker. Yeah. It helped really set him apart to have this unique match. Not a lot of guys have signature specialty matches, and it was always...
It's only like one of his 11 signature matches.
No, he had so many
this
more.
Was his first one. Yeah.
And this is the one that really stuck, the one that really lasted, unlike some of the other ones, knockoffs that we talked about. But it was always a big deal whenever one was announced. It was a great way to just add to the hype of a pay-per-view or maybe unique. A match that wasn't really didn't have much going on for it, but you throw that stipulation on it and the crowd's like, oh.
Ooh, now I got to see.
Oh yeah, you're automatically, you're not going to the bathroom break during a casket match.
No.
Yeah.
It's like you go to a house show. It's like, oh, I got Undertaker versus Quang in a casket match. Yes,
that's a main event right there.
Not a popcorn break. Yeah, exactly. That's a main event now.
Well, we got a few like that we'll talk about on some of these house show matches. But Of course, it has been a busy month. January has been a busy month in the life of the dead man, in the life of Mark Calloway, The Undertaker. So before we get into our main topic for tonight, we got to give you our review of this month's Undertaker sightings. Travis, should we start with the big one or save that one for last?
We'll start with the little one.
Yeah, okay. Let's start with the little one. I got a couple of little ones here.
Appetizers.
So The Undertaker popped
Wet
up.
our palates. Sorry.
Well, you don't want to get these wet. You don't want to get your sneakers wet. Not these
That
sneakers.
is true.
We're talking about The Undertaker on an episode of Sneaker Shopping. I believe, is that exactly what it's called?
No idea. I just came across online and sent it to you. I was like, what is happening? I said, what world are we living in?
Well,
it's crazy.
This is actually a pretty big deal. It's called Complex. The YouTube channel is Complex. The show is called Sneaker Shopping. And it's one of the most popular YouTube shows out there. Undertaker was on Hot Ones. He was on Cold as Balls with Kevin Hart, getting the ice bath. He's done the tour of these YouTube shows. And this one's a big deal. I got to say, I don't know about you, man. I know less than nothing about sneaker culture. I buy my tennis shoes from Walmart.
Same. Amen, man.
So I got nothing on this, but I do know it is a big deal, and there's a whole culture around all this stuff.
If my tennis shoes cost more than $24.98, I'm not buying them.
Absolutely
I have
not.
my tennis shoes I wear to like work and cut the grass in them from Walmart, and my quote unquote nice shoes I might wear at church are from Target, so they cost me an extra $5.
That's right.
They look like kind of like Vans or something. So yeah, I'm not a sneaker guy. We've already talked about how I don't collect anything. So yeah, I definitely don't collect sneakers, but it is a huge world. It's big and just all kinds of entertainment. I mean, you tend to think of rap, and hip hop culture with it, but there's plenty of people not in that. There are mega church pastors that are sneakerheads.
Yeah.
Right or wrong, but there are mega church pastors that are sneakerheads. I know Sam Roberts, who does a lot of work with WWE, great shows. He's a big sneakerhead. A lot of guys are. So, and yeah, this is a big deal. So,
I mean, it came out 2 days ago. It already has 435,000 views on YouTube. So, I mean, it's a popular show.
Yes.
I'm not sure Undertaker is a sneakerhead either, just gauging off of what we saw about it. But they had some fun conversations. They talked about he talked about pretty much everything he has is black. And he talked about the Converse Chuck Taylors that he used to wear playing basketball, which is like, can you imagine wearing that to play basketball nowadays? That's what they all wore.
Yeah.
Size 15 is what he says. He's a size 15. Then he goes around, he buys a couple pairs of shoes. He literally buys a pair of Crocs while there at the sneaker store. And
that's something I've never owned.
But they're cool now again.
It's weird.
In some places.
Still make fun of them, and people around where I live now don't make fun of them around them because they're coming back, and like there are some designer kind of like Crocs and stuff. So
that's kind of what
it's
he
weird.
Purchased. Yeah. Which
I don't get it.
More power to him. I'm sure
the
dead man can do whatever he wants.
Oh yeah.
So it's a fun little thing. It's like 10 minutes on YouTube, but definitely go check that out if you haven't yet. Like I said, I don't get it, but it's cool to see him on it. It's cool to see him. I'm glad that he's getting to have fun doing this sort of stuff because it was by choice, but for many years he never got to do stuff like this and show his character and do this fun sort of stuff. So I'm glad he's getting to soak all this in. And again, it speaks to the power of Taker that they would want to bring him in this show that has all these other mainstream celebrities and stuff on there.
Especially him not being one you consider, like you don't think of him as it. They're like, oh, we're never going to get viewers just because it's the Undertaker. You know what I'm saying? So, and then introduces him to a whole new audience too. They might say, oh, and they might hop over WWE, this one. So it's always good.
That's right. Well, he was promoting his One Dead Man show that, if you're listening to this now, it's already took place Royal Rumble weekend. So we'd love to get a report from you. If any of you Creatures of the Night, any of you out there in the Pod Street crew, were at this One Dead Man show, we'd love to hear a report on it. He's got some more autograph signings lined up. As well. So, of course, if you do attend and you wear one of our Talking Taker t-shirts or merchandise, take a picture with the dead man, please send that to us and you will be rewarded for your efforts. We'll just say that.
If you get a PSK tattoo across your belly, like Taker, I don't have any tattoos, but by the time I'm 40, if I want one, I might get a
I
PSK
think
across my stomach.
10-year anniversary of the podcast. Me and you, if we make it that long.
I get my wife's name and my ring finger, and then a PSK across my stomach.
No, you get your wife's name right here across your throat. That's what you do.
That's a real thing. Yeah.
I mean, y'all been married for like 15 years now.
Almost 14 years.
Yeah, I think it'll last.
Yeah. All right. Oh, that's funny.
And then before we do get into the main or the big Undertaker signing of the month, I want to mention I saw this on social media, and as far as I know, it's true. But the man who played the original Creature of the Night, you remember this, Travis? From like '95, these characters would show up in the crowd. A man and a woman seemed to always be the same one. Apparently his name was Dave Learman. And he was also apparently like part of the Howard Stern show crew, weirdly enough, which I never realized.
I didn't know. Yeah.
But apparently he passed away recently. So sad to see another part of the Undertaker's lore, his history, pass away. We just want to wish rest in peace and well wishes to him and his family.
Yeah, he stood out in the crowd, man. Yeah.
He did his job. Well, yeah, the big news. I don't think this had even been announced by the time we did our last episode, but The Undertaker appeared at Raw XXX, Raw 30, the other night. And boy, I did not see this coming, this type of appearance. Did you?
Not at all. They had advertised him as in the dead man garb and everything. I saw one advertisement online that had him in kind of his more street clothes-ish, but I still thought like they're just putting it up there because that's who we know him as now. He's not like he's come back as the Undertaker, like the dead man. I had no idea. And this segment, oh man, it's just great. You got LA Knight out there, who I love. Yeah, I love that guy. I know some people say he's like the Rock light, but dude, who cares? He's doing a great job, and he's out there and he's calling out whoever's in the back, and just when you hear that gong, that crowd just pops so big, man. And you saw that big moon on there, and then when it came next, and then it went off, and you heard Kid Rock, that crowd popped again, and I about lost it, dude. I was sitting on the couch out there. I put my kids to sleep. My wife was still putting my daughter down, and I about jumped off the couch. And she's like, "You want to go watch the TV?" I was like, "Give me a second." Like, take her. It's the American PA. He's on here. Like, I was losing it, dude. I was like, "This is amazing." So, yeah. And then he got a third pop when he came out on the bike.
Well, when the wheel crept out, and then he got the bike out, and then he got it down the ramp. Having some technical difficulties with that motorcycle. I thought we were getting a Hulk Hogan. I was very nervous on the couch, like, oh no, please don't let this bike stall out.
I texted you immediately. I was like, it's insane, dude.
Yeah, man. The first appearance of the American Badass character in 19 years. Or 20, I guess. Yeah, 19 and a half.
Well,
2003 Survivor Series was the last time he came out on a bike. Of course, WrestleMania 36, the Boneyard match, that was sort of a mishmash, a mixture of all of his different eras. So I would call this one the first real appearance of the Biker Taker in 20 years. So to see that logo on there, have him come out on the bike, goosebumps.
And they licensed Kid Rock. That was just great. It wasn't the...
How'd you feel about that? Do you think they made the right choice there?
Absolutely.
Yeah,
I think they made it because it says American. It says what it is.
Yeah.
Like that's his character.
Yeah.
I know that he changed to Roll, and that may have been a little more upbeat and iconic. Some people think. And then when he changed to "This Is My Yard" song or whatever it is, like I'm glad they didn't play that one. Walking.
No.
But this one, it was just like the fact that they got the license for this to play. It was just incredible to me. They never do that anymore. They change their own music now.
Yes.
Change Charlotte's music to new music. So the fact they went above again, I said it since episode 1. The attention to detail and the production that they put into the Undertaker's character from year 1 to year 33 now is just above anybody else.
Yeah.
Anybody. So Yeah, it was amazing.
I think the only thing he was missing was I wish he would have had like the big trench coat on. You know, he came out in his One Dead Man Show T-shirt. He's advertising. You know, I respect that, but I wish he'd have had something like that. And he was missing just a big old pull of tobacco.
He was missing the carabiner around his face.
I didn't see that. I didn't notice that.
What if he had that? That'd have been amazing.
Oh, Randy would have.
You know, Randy would be like, "What?"
His brain would have exploded. But dude, I gotta say, I'm one of those people that I don't get LA Knight. I don't. I mean, I appreciate his.
Love him.
I appreciate that he has, charisma, but God, he reminds me so much of Mr. Kennedy. Just like too much, man. He just seems like a knockoff Stone Cold that you'd see trying to main event your local indie show. That's what I feel about him. But you're not supposed to like him, I guess. So
yeah,
I don't like him. Which is perfect. That's exactly who I want to see get beaten up by the dead man. And interestingly enough, Undertaker did not beat him up. He gave him the goozle, but who should come out? He gave him a long goozle, but who should come out to actually get the beat down on LA Knight?
Bray Wyatt. New and improved Bray Wyatt 2.0, 3.0, 4.0, 5. I don't know which Bray Wyatt this is. It's Bray Wyatt. It's a bunch of Wyatt 6, I guess, 6.0. So, yeah, he comes out. And this whole thing was, and we were talking about this before we started recording, like this Raw was great because they utilized the quote-unquote legends to further storylines or put over talent, not rather than bury them and say how much better they were. So Taker comes out, goozles LA Knight, Bray Wyatt shows up. Taker takes goozles and shoves him to Bray Wyatt, saying, "No, it's your turn. Like you do it." Bray Wyatt sits to Abigail, and then we get the sweet nothings. He whispered into Bray Wyatt's ear, and Bray with that look, and then Taker eventually rides off once his motorcycle starts back up. But some people are calling it passing the torch. Who knows? I don't care. It was just. I don't ever want to know what he said to him. Ever. I don't ever want to know what he said to him. Yeah. I don't need to know that. I know that Bray Wyatt went on social media afterward and out of character said it was, all of his career is built up to this. Like that's what he needed. And it was huge for him to have that moment. And this is a guy who's already feuded with Taker and lost to him.
That's a guy who's been world champion 2-3 times already, who's, been to the mountaintop. And for him to say that after, 8 years of being Bray Wyatt and being a huge, one of the biggest characters in all of wrestling, for him to come out and say that is like, wow, that's incredible.
It's a testament to the power of the rub of the Undertaker,
maybe he told Bray what the belt hook is all about. What the maybe that's the secret he told him.
Yeah. Maybe he said, "Hey man, what the heck's a Mountain Dew pitch black match?" And Bray was just like, I don't know.
Well, that is certainly a match that I don't think will stand the test of time like the Casket match has. I don't think we'll have dozens and dozens of Mountain Dew pitch black matches to talk about. Maybe.
The SummerSlam's Mountain Dew Baja Blast match.
IBC Cream Soda Classic.
Dude, they do a cheer one sluts. I'm there.
Tell us what soda matches you'd like to see sponsor WWE.
I'm a
programming, folks. Oh yeah, of course. Yeah, let us know in the comments, folks. But just an awesome thing. Was not expecting.
Match, they could have that.
Vault.
Surge. Vault could be like a. Vault could be like the concrete crypt,
Yeah. I got you.
Anyway, I'm done.
Dr. Pepper Code Red match.
Oh, that was what the Fiend used to have. All the lights went down.
That's what it was all along.
He's already used to
They should have been sponsoring
Mountain Dews. Yeah. Got the leg up on a Mountain Dew match.
Well, it was awesome to see something that we'll remember forever for the Undertaker. It was, of course, the Undertaker's going to have a meaningful appearance on one of these nights. We were talking earlier too, like there's a lot of those legends that were just backstage, just part of that poker match, just getting a pop, just waving to the camera. DDP, DiBiase, guys like that. IRS, unfortunately, we had to see him. Oh no, of course, ruining everybody's night.
whose money did he take? Corbin's?
To Corbin and JBL's.
That's fine.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's fine.
He gave him $100 though.
Yeah.
I did laugh. I gotta say, I did laugh when he said, "You earned this." He gave him the.
Yeah, of course. Good stuff.
But yeah, it's just speaks to the Undertaker that his segment mattered. You know, it really had an impact on a character and on the storyline, and really moved things forward. Whereas it doesn't always happen on these Legends shows.
Exactly, and it gave a rub to both younger guys in the storyline. And LA Knight was not hurt one bit.
Oh no.
One bit by that. He's a guy. He and Sami Zayn are supposed to. That's supposed to happen. Miz. That's not supposed to happen to them. So he was not hurt one bit. I mean, I don't know how many views that clip has on YouTube, but I guarantee it's a ton.
Right.
And the other guy in it is Elliot Knight. So
only
looking up for him in his career. So that's
good. Absolutely.
As a fan of his.
Well, who knows if that'll be the last time we see Taker in a segment like that. Probably not, but still a very cool segment, one we'll always remember, and a great way to kick off 2023 in the year of The Undertaker. But as for us, like I said, no pitch black matches that we're talking about tonight. We're talking about the casket match, a match that has truly stood the test of time. And like I said, we're going to run through the history of it, the entire evolution of it here. You know, we're not going to talk about move by move through any of these matches, but just, you know, memories of the ones that
Zack
we've
Snyder
seen.
cut.
No. We're not doing that. We've got episodes covering all of these televised casket matches.
Exactly.
You can hear those in the archives. Now, we're just going to talk about the evolution of it and explain to us the rules and the basic theme of a casket match, Travis.
Well, basically what we've come to understand is that you beat your opponent so badly that they are almost out of it long enough for you to roll them into the casket, close the lid, thus sealing them in. You win the match.
That's it.
You know,
that's it.
You want to beat it like a last man standing. They can't answer the count. You roll them in. Boom, they're done. There's no pinfall, no submissions. I guess no DQs. So, so you just roll them in there, close it. They don't die. It's not pitch black, lights out for them. They're just in there. They're humiliated. They're humiliated by it though, because they got beat so bad they couldn't answer. They couldn't get up out of the casket.
Well, some heels do sell it like it is going to be their death.
Yes, of course. Yeah.
And great point to bring up the last man standing match as sort of the evolution of that, because that really is where this evolves from. A lot of people may not realize this, but the first casket match ever, the first recorded coffin match, and we'll talk about the difference between those here in a little bit. The first recorded coffin match took place all the way back in 1980. So October 24th, 1980 is the first recorded coffin match. And, of course, no Undertaker is involved in this. He wasn't even around in the world of pro wrestling yet. He was still playing basketball somewhere. On some street corner, I guess, going home to Mama Taker. No, this involved someone who was in The Undertaker's first WWF match, and his co-star in Scooby-Doo and the Curse of the Speed Demon, old Dusty Rhodes, taking on the Russian Bear Ivan Koloff in a Houston Wrestling Texas Death Coffin match.
Wow.
Yeah, and this is cool. You can actually find this footage. It's readily available on YouTube. It's not on Peacock or anything like that, but it's pretty easily found on YouTube. And it supposedly takes place under Texas Deathmatch rules. So there's every time there's a pinfall, there's a 10 count to see if the opponent can answer the count. And if they cannot, then the loser will be forced to leave the ring in a coffin. And at first I didn't realize why, but commentary does eventually say that the reasoning is because Ivan Koloff has been saying on promos that he wants to bury all of the great American wrestlers. And that's where the casket stipulation comes into play here.
Gotcha. Okay. Well, they're making it make sense. I guess.
It does, but then the match doesn't quite make sense if you go back and watch it. So Dusty actually demands that this coffin, and I say that in quotation marks, be placed in the middle of the ring to start the match. So you remember I think it was on SmackDown 2, Know Your Role, where they had casket matches on there. And you
just Irish whipped them into it, and fall in.
You
Yeah,
picked
you
it
can
up
put a
like a
casket
table
anywhere.
or a chair,
Yeah.
hit people with it
Yeah.
in the ring. Well, that's what this coffin is like, and it is the cheapest, flimsiest coffin. There's no lid on it. It looks like a rowboat, basically. It doesn't even look like Dusty Rhodes could fit in it.
Right.
Laying down on his side, it's pitiful looking, but it's there, and it's a kind of an intense match. There's even some blood in it, which I don't think we ever saw in any of Taker's casket matches. Maybe one or two of them.
So.
But it's weird because after they go back and forth, they do this Texas Death Match stuff. They have 4 falls. I think it's Dusty beats Koloff 3 of them. Maybe Koloff beats Dusty 1 of them. But in the 5th fall, as we're getting towards the end here, it goes about 12 minutes or so. Ivan Koloff has Dusty propped up against the edge of the coffin, and he goes to the top rope, goes for a knee drop from the top rope, and Dusty moves. So Koloff hits his knee on the edge of the coffin, and then he stumbles up to his feet. Dusty hits a bionic elbow. Ivan backflops into the coffin, and the ref rings the bell.
Oh, wait, I thought you had to pin him. He couldn't answer the 10 count, then put him in it.
That was how it was for the first 10 minutes. But all of a sudden, we get to go home, Q. So
wow.
They call it a night.
They had 12 falls in 5 minutes, or 5 falls in 12 minutes?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's weak sauce.
Yeah, it was.
Jeez.
So it's definitely unique. I encourage our listeners, if you've never seen it before, to go out and watch it. I remember I had heard of it before, maybe on one of those like Legends of Wrestling roundtable shows or something like that. I had heard that there was a casket match back in the early 80s that was the impetus for the casket match that we would come to know and love. But it's weird. It exists, but then like it goes away, it disappears for 11 years until The Undertaker takes ownership of it. And I'd love to know who brought that idea to the table.
I bet it was Pritchard. I wouldn't doubt it.
But
I don't know that.
Pritchard's not around during the time where the casket match starts to take place. So
right, but I mean, he's just a Texas boy. It's a Texas. He probably knows all that Houston wrestling stuff, and I would not be surprised if it was him. It wasn't Vince. It was either him or Patterson. Pritchard or Patterson probably pitching it later on. But yeah, it'd be interesting to find out who that was.
Yeah.
I mean, he'll still say it's him anyway.
He'll claim ownership of it no matter what. So.
Which is fine. We weren't there to say.
We'll just give it to him.
Yeah, that's fine.
Well, the first time we see a casket come into play with The Undertaker in a really meaningful way is on a segment of Superstars where it's very famous. The Undertaker seals the Ultimate Warrior inside the casket on his funeral parlor segment and locks him in there, and all these officials have to come in and pry it open. He's going to suffocate to death on there. That's on April 13th, 1991 episode of Superstars. And it's kind of
I was almost 5 years old. It's
imagine,
crazy.
I know you didn't watch it then. I didn't either. But imagine being a 5-year-old and seeing something like that.
It'd be terrifying.
Oh, yeah.
But it was captivating.
Nightmares about it.
You want to know, like, is Warrior okay? Because, like, he was the guy, I mean, he's Superman, So, yeah, you'd definitely be interested to see where it's headed. So, that's awesome. So you wouldn't flip the channel, that's for sure. You'd be like, oh, what's happening right here?
Bingo. And, that moment and another one of Taker's gimmicks that he used to do, which was bringing the body bag to the ring. Paul Bearer would carry the body bag with him, and after he would squash these jobbers, they would zip the opponents in the body bag, and he'd carry them out over his shoulder in the body bag. That led us to the first ever body bag match. And the first one of those took place in May of 1991, May 11th, 91 in Detroit, Michigan, where The Undertaker lost to the Ultimate Warrior there in the body bag match. And you're going to see here really all throughout 91, Undertaker's going to really struggle with these supposedly signature matches of his. So that after the body bag match, we get the very first ever casket match in WWF history, which takes place July 14th, 1991 in St. Louis, Missouri. Historic moment here. And again, the Ultimate Warrior is going to defeat The Undertaker here in the first ever casket match. Untelevised, unreleased. Dang. No footage of that exists, to my knowledge, that has ever been released, but that is the very first one.
I think they're just running it by trying to get the kinks worked out. Or actually back then it was more of a come to the house show type business. I mean, they didn't have Raw yet, so it was still more of this big attraction is coming to your town, come and see it, so they were still really big about making sure people made it to the house show. So I don't know, maybe they're working the kinks out too for what would happen down the road. So.
I think it's a little both. They're trying to pop the house show market, but also, if it goes well, they can go around the horn with it and then maybe do a last one on a pay-per-view or a Saturday Night's Main Event or something like that for sure. Yeah.
They probably should have done it with the Punjabi prison match, run around the house show cycle a few times before you just debut it on TV.
And where the guy who's supposed to be the main part of it has elevated liver enzymes also. Yeah. And is not even in the match.
Yeah.
Well, they apparently weren't sold on this casket match idea at first because, and I got all these stats from cagematch.net and the history of WWE.com. So that's where I'm getting all this info from. Credit to both of those great resources. But next week they ran 3 more of these body bag matches between Warrior and Taker. Yeah. And we're going to see that throughout 91. They kind of flip-flop between casket match a couple nights, body bag match a couple nights. Maybe they couldn't access a casket in some of these cities. We've heard stories on some like Bruce Pritchard's podcast of them having to go to actual funeral parlors and buy a casket with Paul Bear's funeral director license,
mortuary license.
Because, you can't just go in and say, I'd like 2 caskets today, sir.
Yeah. A casket to go. So, yeah.
Well, the next casket match took place August 19th of 91, Rochester, New York. And again, Warrior's going to defeat The Undertaker. And this one is actually available. You can see this on DVD. It is on the WWE Unreleased 1986 through 1995 DVD set. So that one there is footage of. That's the earliest one that we have footage of. They go back to body bag matches for a little while, and then August 25th in Albany, New York, Warrior defeats Taker in their final casket match, and Warrior goes down 3-0 against The Undertaker, the only guy to never lose to The Undertaker in multiple casket matches. Pretty historic feat for his record.
Yeah, and this is a few we talked about. We never got to cover it on pay-per-view. We've talked about it when we cover superstars and stuff, and a lot of the early stages of this podcast we got to talk about it a little bit. But yeah, it was just what a shame we never got to see one on pay-per-view. So, but yeah, I mean, Warrior just sweeps him.
He sweeps
his signature match. Yeah.
Well, August 30th of 91, Undertaker's going to transition to a new opponent. And he's still going to lose to him, but who's this new opponent that he's going to face?
Oh, the main event monster, Sid Justice.
That's right.
Sid Justice. This is in Richfield, Ohio. So, yeah, it's his former rival from Memphis, which we've covered in our main event monsters episode. Please go check that one out. One of my favorite, hands down.
Top 10.
If you tell me I can only keep 10 episodes of this and delete the rest, that one's staying.
Absolutely.
So, September 1st and 2nd, he loses to Sid Justice in Fresno and Wichita. So, on a little losing streak here again.
Yeah, they take it up to Canada, and Taker loses to Sid in Hamilton, Ontario in the evening match after losing to Sid earlier in the day in London, Ontario in a regular singles match. Imagine having to work Sid twice in one day. He is a loser
in between
3
softball
ways. Yeah, exactly. And then throughout all of September, basically, Undertaker's going to be losing to Sid in casket matches. Milwaukee, Denver, San Francisco, all across the country. He's doing a tour, losing to Sid in casket matches here. And
he'll get his revenge come 97. Don't you worry.
Oh, he does. And it's gonna come in 1992, actually. So
there you go.
The first year of the casket match, Undertaker loses every single one of them to the Ultimate Warrior and Sid. So he's working out the kinks. Maybe he's a little nervous, a little anxious. I don't know what the reasons are that he's losing his signature match so much. Maybe the opponents are just too much for him.
Too much to handle.
But in 1992, we finally kick off the year with The Undertaker making history, getting his historic first win in a casket match on January 17th in the Nassau Coliseum in Long Island, New York, defeating Sid Justice right there. So
I bet Zack Ryder was there.
He might have been.
I bet he was.
Yeah, yeah.
You need to ask him on Twitter.
He went to all those shows when he was a kid there.
Yeah, I bet he was there.
So it's interestingly going to take the rest of 92 off until we get to the big match, the first one on television. And that's going to take place at Survivor Series of 1992.
Yeah, that's a coffin match, actually. They're going to change the title, tweak it a little bit. And that's against good old Kamala, the Ugandan giant.
That's right.
Yeah.
Survivor Series 92, November 25th at the Richfield Coliseum in Richfield, Ohio. And man, this is the debut of the coffin match, which they call it, where we see the first of those vignettes. You mentioned the Yokozuna ones, which are classic, but we got some for this Kamala match.
Yeah.
We saw the blueprints. He had an actual
That's my favorite,
printed out thing with Kamala's body in the coffin. And he's got the coffin is painted with the star and the moon on there. And we said it anytime we talk about Kamala, we cannot put over enough his not his in-ring skills, sure, but what some of the best facial expressions, some of the best selling of the fear. He helped put Undertaker, and he helped put the coffin match / casket match on the map the way he sold his fear of it.
He did. He absolutely did. He needs to be given just as much credit as Taker for making this match mean something, because otherwise it could have been like the old Texas death coffin match,
exactly.
A dud. But like I said, Kamala's terrified of it. It's fantastic, and just what a character, And the rules are a little different here. Taker pins Kamala first, then he actually rolls him in the casket, and he and Bear put the nail in the coffin, actually nail it shut.
Literally.
So,
Bear's got his hammer that says rest in peace on it, these giant nails, and he hammers them each in. And great visual there. It's like 5 minutes long, but I remember they put this match on like all of Taker's DVDs and tapes. Like we covered a couple of them, and they both had this coffin match on there. So unique, and really helped establish that character of the Undertaker. Really helped set him apart.
It's different than anything else on the card.
Not
a lot of gimmick matches going on. Unless it's a cage or something. So it's definitely set that character apart.
Yeah, unlike anything you'd ever seen before. So, and now would be a good time to discuss, I think, something that WWE, or I know that they have gotten wrong many times throughout the years, and that is the difference between a coffin and a casket, because they are not interchangeable terms. Travis, do you know the difference between them?
If you just showed me a picture and said which is a coffin, which is a casket, I could probably identify them based on their shape. I can't tell you what the shape is of each one, but I was like, yeah, that's a coffin, that's a casket. To me, a coffin seems more raw, like almost wood, and just kind of rough around the edges, almost just like a box, whereas a casket's like shaped for a funeral. I don't know.
Well, this is coming from my mother-in-law, who is a licensed funeral director. So I can give you official knowledge here. It does come down to the shape. I always thought it was the materials, but it's the shape. So the coffin is going to have 6 sides to it. It's going to be, shaped like a body, basically, kind of fitted around them like that, like the early coffin match that we see there. That is a coffin. And a casket is going to be the rectangle, maybe with the curved top on top of there usually. So it's all about the shape of them. It's not the
color and the shape.
Well,
I'm just
great album, but it's not.
I had to get a Foo Fighters reference in there.
It's not the color. It's not the material. A casket can be wooden also, and technically a coffin could be metal, but they're typically not. Coffins are typically wooden, and coffins are really used more in other countries. Caskets are the primary thing we use in the U.S., but for sure WWF called coffins caskets and caskets coffins throughout the years. But they were technically correct. The very first one that was a coffin.
There you go.
So in case anybody wanted to know that or needed to
know I did. I did. Fun fact for you.
So that takes us to 1993. And again, we're talking about a house show here, and The Undertaker is going to defeat Yokozuna. They're going to get a test run of their casket match series on October 2nd, 1993. Yoko's going to get a win over The Undertaker in Sacramento, California, which makes sense. He's the world champion at the time.
Oh, yeah, he is.
So, he's going to get the win there. But then we're going to see a brand new opponent for a house show tour overseas, an international tour, and a match that we have never actually seen on TV before, but they had a bunch of them on a big international tour.
Yeah, this is Taker going against a guy that would become one of his boys, and he'd have a tag team match against on a pay-per-view years later.
Oh, my gosh.
Wouldn't he?
Yeah, you're right. Not in this character, but...
No, this is Adam Bomb. So Brian
Clark.
Brian Clark. Yeah, Brian Adams was the other one. Yeah, Brian Clark. So Adam Bomb. Undertaker fights him 7 times in a row, starting October, and he's in Tel Aviv, Israel. So international flavor there,
How random. If you were at that match in Tel Aviv, Israel in 1993, please let us know.
Hear from you. L'chaim. Yes.
Well, there is actually footage of that. If you search around on the internet, on YouTube, Daily Motion, you can see some pretty grainy home video fan cam footage of one of these matches. Like I said, there's 7 of them in a row here. So you can see that. It's pretty neat to see. And what really happens, what you're going to see throughout here is Undertaker will go on these streaks of house show casket matches against one guy. We'll face him just 5-6 weekends or weeknights in a row. That's what he does with Adam Bomb here. He wins all of those. Then he goes on a winning streak against Yokozuna throughout November, really in the upper Northeast, Providence, Rhode Island, Michigan, Flint, Michigan, Cadillac, Michigan, Grand Rapids, Michigan. He gets a big streak of wins against Yokozuna there. And then kicks off 94 with some more wins against Adam Bomb, 6 shows in a row, and then changes it up for a solo match, one match in January of 2016, Stockton, California. We've talked about him. This is the second time we're talking about him on this episode. I'm infuriated. That we're having to talk about Erwin R. Shyster, my least favorite wrestler of all time. At least Taker defeated him here.
Exactly. And that's, of course, going to lead us into the 1994 Royal Rumble from Providence. As, like I said, that's what I think. If first image pops in my mind of Taker in the casket match, is this match right here. So this is when Yokozuna and all the goons defeat The Undertaker. He had a bunch of help.
Crush, Jeff Jarrett, the Head Shrinkers, Bam Bam Bigelow, Tenryu, Kabuki, probably I think Diesel was out there. And this is of course the double wide, as Paul Bearer would say, double wide, double deep casket.
Exactly. Double stuff.
I'll never forget those 4 words strung together in my
double
life.
Wide,
double wide, double deep. I don't know who came up with that, but Vince was like, "Oh yeah, that's it, pal."
Yeah, it sounds like a country song from like '94.
You could write that.
She was a queen of my double wide trailer. Yeah. Vince like double wide, double deep. Sounds like one of those Divas and Hedonism videos they may have had later in the 2000s.
But yeah,
but just what an iconic match,
people, call it wrestle crap, but the whole production of it, if you're a kid watching it, which I was, it just is burned into your brain. And it is, it's really the first time we saw like the grand spectacle and show of The Undertaker, not just with the casket, but with him, levitating up, rising to the heavens, resurrecting, ascending to the heavens out of the casket. I'll never forget the build up to it. I remember it being announced on Superstars or Challenge or whatever that it's The Undertaker versus Yokozuna in a casket match. And of course, if you're watching TV, all you've seen is the one with Kamala. There's only ever been one on TV up until this point. But I remember watching it being like, oh my God, a casket match? Oh no. Undertaker's winning the title. He's not going to lose a casket match. This is a big deal. And then the weeks of Taker in his wood shop, and it was all around the holidays. So like 1 week he's got a wreath on the casket. The next week he's wishing Yokozuna Happy New Year. And not just those, but you got Jim Cornette and Yokozuna doing promos in the arena, where Vince is talking to Jim Cornette, asking if Yoko's afraid of caskets, and Jim Cornette's like, "Oh no, don't say that word! Don't say the word casket!" And he's like so over the top. Yoko is just as good, if not better, than Kamala with his facial expressions. I think I talked about it before. My favorite segment is they roll a casket out, and Yokozuna's talking to Mr. Fuji, and Vince is talking to Jim Cornette, like, what are they saying? And like Mr. Fuji's like directing him, and like Yoko's like doing these hand expressions, and Vince is like, he's gonna squash the casket, like
how dare him.
Yoko's gonna jump. First of all, as if that's even possible.
Right.
He's going to jump down. But just the way that Vince said it, just the incredulousness of it, I'll never forget it. And Yoko just like, Taker pops out of the casket. Yoko falls on his butt and just like, flops around. Oh, man, I love it. It's some of my favorite stuff of all time. And again, I said it multiple times already. It's just establishing the lore, the character, the presence of the Undertaker here.
Yeah, and it's building that mythology and that aura around him, So, yeah, it's good stuff. And that's a fun episode we covered. And it was after losing that match, he's going to come back with a vengeance throughout the fall and the winter in '94, and starting in August in Omaha, Nebraska. He's going to beat somewhere in Middle America. He's going to beat Yokozuna. So, and then he's going to pick up a lot of house show victories. Not one, not two, but 44 more casket victories to end 1994. So 6 of those are going to be against Crush, your boy.
Yeah, that's cool. We never saw that on TV. Yeah. There's no. I tried to find some footage of that. Couldn't really find anything for those. But those are. It's a guy I loved, and a guy Taker was good friends with. So I'm sure they had fun doing those matches.
Yeah. 38 wins against Yoko, basically the entire Northeast, which was their home,
Right.
He just beats him in every town. And he actually, the 6 matches with Crush were over in Germany and a 1 match in London. So overseas tour. International market likes the casket match.
Yeah, I guess maybe Yoko didn't go on that tour for some reason or something like that. It's interesting that there's like a chunk there in the middle.
Yeah.
Taker has a little run with Crush. But in between, amidst that big run against Yokozuna in the fall, there are a couple of significant casket matches, and one is a dark match that did end up on that DVD, VHS. He buries them alive. It was originally VHS, then got moved to DVD, which we covered early on in the show, and it is a very, very fun casket match as The Undertaker defeats Jerry the King Lawler in White Plains, New York. September 28th, 1994 is when that took place. I thoroughly enjoyed watching that when we covered it.
That was fun.
Jerry Lawler's, he's got his foreign object in his pants. He's pulling it out and, sells the tombstone big. Very good match.
Very good. I bet Sam Roberts was at that match.
Is that where he's from?
White Plains. Yeah.
Must have been. And then the big one of the fall of 94, of course, is Survivor Series 94, the rematch between Taker and Yokozuna in San Antonio, Texas, November 23rd. I had, a semi-memorable special guest referee for this match, not a big deal. Only Chuck freaking Norris as the special guest enforcer. Are you kidding me?
The karate fighter himself. I mean, Chuck Norris, dude. I had so much fun covering this episode. Like when covering this match in the episode back years ago. Just Chuck Norris, dude. How do you get any better than that?
I mean, peak Walker Texas Ranger.
Yeah, peak
era.
Chuck.
I think it was a top 10 show when he was doing
top
this.
1 in my book.
Yeah, in the White household, it was number 1. Yeah. Never missed an episode.
All Baywatch and this show, all over it, man.
Did your parents watch Baywatch?
We watched it every Sunday morning before we went to church. Yeah. And then Renegade came on right after it.
Oh, of course, Renegade. I can't believe your mom and dad watched Baywatch.
They love Baywatch. It was a great story.
Yeah, it's all about the
Be
story.
eating French toast and pancakes, sitting there before church on Sunday.
Oh, I gotta talk to your dad about that next time I see him.
Oh, absolutely. He remembers.
Great. Well, yeah, that's a not as good as the first casket match between Taker and Yoko.
Chuck.
It does have Chuck Norris, but you could already see Yoko kind of slowing down a little bit. But a beautifully painted casket. Excuse me, it's a coffin. That is a coffin in that match. That is a coffin at the Rumble 94, but they're both called casket matches.
Yeah.
I want to point that out. So that takes us to 1995, and Undertaker's going to get a no opponent that he's going to be married to for most of 95 in these casket matches. Friend of the show.
Kama.
The Godfather.
The Supreme Fighting Machine, who was also on Monday Night Raw. 30,
of course he was.
X.
That's right.
Dude, seeing hashtag Raw XXX trending on Twitter is a little bit disconcerting.
Oh, my favorite part is when Hulk Hogan came out first, and then like his graphic is a VHS tape that says Triple X on it. It's like, did nobody think about this? Nobody ran that by Terry.
Whoops. Yeah. Oh boy, I'd like to have that one back. But yeah, he's going to be taking on Kama starting July 6th, and he's going to fall prey to Taker 27 matches in a row across that summer. So just the whipping boy for the casket matches. So Kama.
They're really practicing for SummerSlam, which we'll get to in just a second. But they actually have one of these casket matches. It is, I believe, it is considered canon in the WWE history books because it was a dark match at In Your House #2 from Nashville, Tennessee, but it's actually on the Coliseum video version. It was not aired on pay-per-view, but it's a bonus match that's on the VHS tape. Actually, I should have checked. I don't know if it's on Peacock officially, but it was on the VHS. Taker, of course, wins that one. And this is one of my favorite things I found out. This run of matches with Kama is briefly interrupted by a random one-off casket match. Maybe Kama had the flu. Maybe he's
probably out too late one night.
Yeah, I was about to say smoked too big of a blunt one night or something. But Undertaker defeated on July 8th at Chicago, Illinois, in a casket match, Body Donna Skip, one and only match of these on record. Boy, what a mismatch.
I mean, yeah. What happened there? I mean, that's crazy to me. I'd love to see that, though. Now,
dude, we didn't talk about Skip, I don't think, ever on the podcast. I mean, what do you think of, what's your thoughts of Skip, a.k.a. Chris Candido?
I absolutely loved Chris Candido, the ECW version, and then when he went to WCW, I had his figure. I loved Candido. Him and it was so good, man. With
Triple Threat.
The Triple Threat in ECW was so good. I just thought he had so much more, room to grow and be a top guy. I love that they showed because he was a cruiserweight guy. Bigger guy though, like for cruiserweights, but he could just bring some validity to that style, almost like a Malenko.
Yeah.
Like a Malenko. So I really liked him. It's a shame he passed away when he did. He just had so much more of a future, I thought. Loved Chris Candido. Absolutely loved Chris Candido. Skip, not so much.
You could skip on the Skip, yeah. But yeah, he's a guy you could imagine being like at the Performance Center nowadays, like a guy who would really fit in training people.
Jerry Lynn, just training people, man. Like he'd be just such a brilliant mind. Yeah. Anyway.
Well, it's a shame we didn't see that match ever, but the big one of 95, there are two big ones in 95. The first one is SummerSlam 95, August 27th in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Undertaker defeating Kama, winning back possession of the remnants of the urn that Kama melted down into a chain. Historic, because I believe, if I'm not mistaken, this is our first appearance of the Casket Cam. One of
That's
our
it.
favorite innovations.
My favorites. It's one of the all the cool stuff WWE's come up with. That's one of my favorite ones ever. So the precursor to the ladder cam, we're on top of the ladder. We can see Jeff Hardy falling off and stuff. So,
That's right.
It all was birthed here, ladies and gentlemen.
Good way to end that feud. Again, another match where, like, if it's just Undertaker versus Kama, you might be sitting there like, I don't know about that.
Yeah.
But adding that casket match element definitely elevates it and bumps it up, makes it a little more fun. Same with this next one.
Notch.
Yeah, the next one that takes place.
Oh, boy. King Mabel at Seasons Beatings in Hershey, Pennsylvania on December 17th, 95. Taker's 100th casket match win. So that's pretty that's a trivia question I would have not gotten right. So, but King Mabel does desecrate this Taker casket with some graffiti because he's just a punk.
Yeah, the sacred casket, as McMahon calls it.
Yeah, it is sacred.
Again, another match. Boy, thank God they had that stipulation on there. Otherwise, yeah, would have stunk up the joint. But having the casket match makes it more fun. I remember the weirdest part of this match. You got Sir Mo on the outside. At one point, he's beating up Taker on the other side of the ring from the casket, and he has to pick up Undertaker on his shoulder like a little child and runs around to the other side of the ring and drops him in the casket. I remember watching that being like,
what?
Who let Sir Mo? Who gave him permission to do that? You would never see that nowadays.
No, not at all.
That's hilarious. So Undertaker, he's had a hot streak here throughout the end of 94, throughout all of 95. It's going to come to an end in 1996 as he's going to face a loss that I don't think a lot of people saw coming against Goldust. That takes place a couple times in a row. First time at In Your House Beware of Dog in Florence, South Carolina, but that was when the power was out that night. So
also
only
a dark
the people
match.
in the arena, it was a literal dark match. So they ran it back again on May 28th at Beware of Dog 2 in North Charleston, South Carolina, which is the one that we've all seen and is on the network. It was on the pay-per-view. And that one ends, Goldust gets the win over Taker because Mankind is secretly in the casket, jumps up, attacks Undertaker, helps Goldust get Mankind in the get Undertaker into the beautiful gold painted casket for that match. A match that really elevated Goldust. This whole feud did because if you remember 96, they kind of alternate. We all remember the Mankind stuff, but it was like going back and forth, Taker feuding with Goldust kind of simultaneously there. So definitely gave him a little bit of a rub here.
It did. Was this our first live episode we recorded together?
I don't.
At your house?
It came. I think it was a couple after this. I think we did the Buried Alive one. We didn't do this one.
Okay, that was it. Okay. But yeah, this I don't think people saw the loss coming, but it's to further the storyline, the A plot, which is Taker and Mankind, Yes. The B plot was Goldust in there, but the A plot was Mankind. So that definitely, it's storytelling, it's pushing the story forward. So, and then Taker's going to defeat Mankind on July 22nd in Seattle, and then 4 more wins against him in August and September. So, and then it's going to...
Which we didn't see. None of those were ever on TV.
Yeah, we never saw any of those. And then 1997 is going to begin with a house show match where Vader is actually going to defeat Undertaker at Madison Square Garden. So, and that match is on the Peacock Network channel.
It is. It's on those... old school WWF old school section where they have some house show things. It has commentary. It was aired on the MSG network back in the day. But that's cool. It's like a couple days before WrestleMania 13. Really interesting to see there. Vader picking up a rare casket match win over The Undertaker. I believe, again, we got Mankind interfering in there, causing that. But Taker's going to get his wins back. He's going to face Vader 7 times in the month of July and defeat him every single one of those times across some house shows. And then he's going to finish up 97 with some more house show matches against an opponent we never saw him face in a casket match on TV, but a guy he would be tied to throughout much of his career, especially the later stages. The Game, Triple H. In the early days of DX, Taker's feuding with Shawn Michaels on TV, but on the house shows, you're going to get Undertaker and Triple H in some casket matches starting November 16th in Baltimore, Maryland. And then Taker's going to defeat Triple H 8 more times before the end of 1997. And that streak of matches against Triple H is going to be interrupted by a couple of one-off opponents in late 97.
Yeah, Taker's going to go walking in Memphis and defeat The Rock, and he's going to go down to Little Rock and defeat The Rock again. So, and then a win over the artist formerly known as Goldust, who changed at this point, in Hamilton, Ontario, and then on December 28th. Then he's getting his win back from the Beware of Dog 2 there. So
that's right. So maybe the artist formerly known as Goldust was wearing an outfit similar to what we talked about in Rumble 98.
Right, probably.
But how about Taker and The Rock in a casket match?
Yeah.
In 97.
Pretty cool, man. It's pretty cool. I think the commercial for SmackDown 2 Know Your Role had Taker and The Rock in a casket match.
Well, there's going to be one that we're going to talk about here in just a second. They did have one later on TV. But, of course, 1998, we just did an entire episode devoted to it. And I think we could both agree, best casket match televised of all time. January 18th, 98, Royal Rumble, San Jose, California. Shawn Michaels defeats The Undertaker. And this one, it really is the first, maybe the only great casket match as far as work rate, in-ring work, psychology, and all that. I think casket matches are always fun. But as far as like a great worked match, might be the only one and only.
Well, because he's in there with the best of all time, the best in-ring work of all time, Shawn. So, it's just that match would have been stupendous without the casket, and the casket just took it to another level. So, fantastic. Go back and check our episode out from last month if you want to hear that. So,
yeah, and again, a huge loss for Taker. Of course, Kane runs in. We think he might help Undertaker, but he's going to turn on him, light the casket on fire. Again, tying back to Rumble 94, just this huge spectacle, building up the mythology of The Undertaker and his rivalry with Kane. And the only other casket match in 98 is going to be the only time these two brothers ever faced in a casket match, and is going to be our first one ever on Monday Night Raw, Milwaukee, Wisconsin, October 19th. And from what I could find, it's also the only no contest casket match, which is
I have a note.
Ask your boy, Mr. Russo, how you're gonna have.
Well, I was gonna say this is in the fall of '98 when they're doing the Taker and Kane and Stone Cold stuff, right? It means this is after Breakdown and all that. So a lot of convolutedness going on there. Are they in cahoots?
Well, they go into a coffin. Again, this is a coffin. They go into a wooden coffin, and at the same time, and they are fighting, and they bust out the sides of it and destroy the coffin as they're fighting in it. So that's why it goes to a no contest. Interesting, I guess. Kind of a disappointment. I remember watching it. Wish it could have been a little bit more. And that's going to take us to 1999, to the beginning of the Ministry of Darkness.
Yeah, and the return of the casket match with 3 wins over Ken Shamrock, starting on May 1st in Anaheim, then Fort Myers, and then Tampa. So, gonna defeat the world's most dangerous man.
That's right.
He might be dangerous, but he ain't good with a casket. So.
Well, we saw those two fight on pay-per-view, but not in a casket match. So, kind of interesting they did that for the house shows. Then we're going to get another house show match on Monday Night Raw with Undertaker. Like you said, he's going to face The Rock. And this was infamous, whatever you want to call it, because Triple H is going to interfere, and it's going to be the debut of Triple H's signature weapon, the sledgehammer. The first time we ever see him use the sledgehammer, as they put The Rock in the casket, and he's going to take the sledgehammer out and destroy the casket. And forever from that point, Triple H is going to be synonymous with the sledgehammer.
we used to joke a lot on here about how Taker was responsible for the creation of whatever it was, DX, and we'd reach and just make it funny
Oh
until
yeah,
here you go again. So Triple H's sledgehammer was used in this match, so you're welcome.
it's because
Taker.
of the Undertaker. That's
Yeah,
right.
exactly.
Thank
Go
you
back,
for
say,
that.
shake his hand, say thanks for that. Yeah. So then this match disappears for about 6 years.
6 years.
Yeah, so I guess I don't know if the freight was too much to carry it around or what, but
Well,
I'm just kidding. It's
because of
yeah,
the Biker Taker. No
Yeah,
casket
character
matches for the Undertaker. We'll talk about this in a little while. There are a couple other casket matches in this time period, but the Undertaker is not going to be in them.
right. So he kicks off 2005 with a win over our boy John Heidenreich.
Hey-o.
January 3rd in Manchester, New Hampshire. Beats him in January 5th in Chicago. So a deep dish. Chicago's beat down. Casket match. Then Orlando gets a special treat as he beats Kurt Angle in a casket match.
Oh, I'd love to see that.
I'd love to see them two together. And then Jacksonville, he beats Heidenreich again. So I guess Heidenreich couldn't make that show a spot for Orlando. Kurt Angle got to take that loss.
Or maybe the agents were like, good God, I can't watch another one of these.
Another one of these.
Kurt, please save us. Give us something good to watch here tonight. Show them how it's done. But yeah, that's all building up to the Royal Rumble 2005 in Fresno, California, where The Undertaker defeats Heidenreich on pay-per-view in a casket match. A match I remember liking a little bit more than you did, Travis. I appreciated it. Again, I don't want to see Undertaker versus Heidenreich in a singles match, but if at least you're giving us the casket, we had a Kane run in there. I thought it was fun for what it was, and I don't think you appreciated it quite as much.
I've blocked it out of my memory, so I don't even remember this happened, honestly. So
it's certainly not in my top 50 Undertaker
They had
matches.
a last ride match too, didn't they?
Yeah, it was
or something. He popped out of
they
the
had
hearse
another
at some point.
I think it was Undertaker and JBL in the last ride, and
But Heidenreich
came in
out.
like a Hummer or something.
I remember that. Yeah, he would drive a Hummer.
So he kicks off 05 in
What's that even mean?
The return of the Dead Man here in this era, and then he's going to close out 05 at No Mercy, suffering one of his biggest defeats in a casket match here.
No Mercy. He's going to lose to Los Ortons, Cowboy Bob, and Randy. They're going to beat him in his only handicap casket match. So this is in Houston, Texas on October 9th. So I remember enjoying that match. I just enjoyed Bob Orton and Randy Orton and the whole Randy Orton storyline. It was fun.
It was fun. You could tell Bob Orton really didn't have any business being out there.
No.
He was struggling through some moments in that match. But again, for the story, this year-long, nearly story between Undertaker and Randy Orton, it was a nice piece of that puzzle there.
Sure.
And Bob Orton, Cowboy Bob Orton of all people, was one of the rare people to hold a victory of Undertaker in a casket match. And folks, that is going to be the last time the Undertaker ever loses a casket match. Spoiler alert here. That's his last one in 2005. He's going to go into 2006, and this one's a big deal because this is the only casket match ever at the granddaddy of them all, WrestleMania. Mania 22, Chicago, Illinois. Undertaker defeats Mark Henry on April 2nd. Boy, I remember watching this at your apartment, Travis.
Yes, I was going to say I have fond memories of this match just because of watching at my apartment. And I remember doing the Taker, turn the lights off when he came out and trying to turn them on at the same time they came on with him and missing it by a millisecond, but it was fun. We had some friends over there that weren't even wrestling fans, but they were just there with us watching, and they had a great time.
Sure.
Some girls we used to do youth work and stuff with and just had a blast. It's just, how could you not, watching WrestleMania? So, but yeah, this match, Mark Henry, I listened to him on Busted Open. He holds this match in very high regard because it's the Taker match at WrestleMania, which we've already said that's one of the main events. So I know as a personal, we can look at it and be like, it wasn't that great, whatever, work great, whatever. But it is really cool that Mark Henry got to have a casket match against the Dead Man at a WrestleMania. I mean, there's only, whatever, 24 opponents at WrestleMania or whatever he had, 25. Like, and that's one of them, and it's a casket. It's pretty cool for Mark Henry.
Oh,
Pretty
no
cool
question.
feather in his cap.
And I just loved, I remember even at the time, I didn't want to see this match. This was way before the Hall of Pain and
Yeah.
Mark Henry's like peak of his career. When I became a Mark Henry fan, I wasn't into Mark Henry at all back then, but I was like, you know what? I think it's cool that we're getting a casket match
Exactly.
at WrestleMania. You know, it
Exactly.
kind of like, it's the only one that ever happened there, but it, just something happening at WrestleMania makes it important in history. Anybody, whoever, whether it's the lowest guy on the card, the fact that they're on a WrestleMania kind of puts them in the history books. There are some legendary wrestlers who never appeared at WrestleMania, like Lance Storm. He was on a pre-show once.
Yep.
Never made it on WrestleMania. Great wrestler. Yep. Never made it onto a WrestleMania card. There's, a bunch of people you'd be like surprised that they didn't make it on WrestleMania. And so I think it's awesome that they had a casket match there. Another one where you might be like, ugh, Undertaker, Mark Henry. Ooh, casket match though.
Exactly.
All right. I'm not taking a popcorn break during this one. It's nothing fantastic, but it's fun for what it is.
Yeah.
And again, it stands out. It's a little bit unique looking back on the Undertaker's legendary streak. And on a pay-per-view that's so synonymous with the Undertaker, it's cool that he does have a casket match in the books on there.
And what a great WrestleMania too. I mean, it's
very fun. I think
very
underrated.
fun show. Yeah, very fun show. And like you said, if they'd have had this match, if it had been Taker and Mark Henry in a casket match at, I don't know, No Mercy or something in the fall or whatever, bragging rights. I don't know what pay-per-views, I don't remember the pay-per-views names they had back then, but just, you wouldn't remember it, but it's because it's at WrestleMania. It stands out.
Exactly. So that's going to be the only one in 06, nothing in 07, and then we're going to get a nice series in 2008 of 4 casket matches throughout 2008.
Yeah, he's actually going to run this match back with Mark Henry at a WrestleMania Rewind Raw. Whew, that's tough to say. WrestleMania Rewind Raw. March 10th in Milwaukee. I remember this night.
Yeah, I do too. I always like when they do that. I think that's a fun gimmick.
Yeah, it's a neat little thing and a throwback to the fans. And it sometimes they tell us to forget about all the history. It's nice to remember, like, oh, it's okay for us to remember the history of these characters. So then he defeats Chavo on SmackDown in San Diego in October and defeats Big Show in Orlando after SmackDown on November 4th. And then he's going to defeat Big Show at Survivor Series on November 23rd. So these are one of the Big Show matches we're not excited to get through.
The endless series of 2008.
Yeah.
I remember 2008 being like 3 or 4 Edge matches and then 4 Big Show matches. That's all we covered in 2008.
Yeah, it was rough.
But I tell you what a fantastic finish to this Taker Big Show casket match. You remember this? This is where they have this giant casket that's upright at the top of the entrance stage. And Undertaker does the Irish whip, whips Big Show into the casket. He goes in it. It falls to the ground. The lid collapses on top of him. It's tough to be creative in a casket match. There's only so much you can do with this whole casket match gimmick. The gimmick works. You can do near falls with the casket, with the lid closing and somebody reaching up and getting their hand up at just the last second. You can do stuff with it. You can be creative with it. Shawn and Taker were obviously very creative with it, but it's hard to come up with a really creative finish in there. I didn't mention it, but I'm thinking back to the Survivor Series 94 where Taker beats up Mr. Fuji, takes the Japanese flag, breaks it over his knee and tosses that in there and closes the lid. But generally, you've got somebody going in the casket, Taker closes the lid, slams it shut. This was very, very creative. I'd love to know who came up with this finish because it was so different. And I don't remember anything else about this match, but I do remember the finish, and I thought it was a fantastic, unique finish on there. I loved it.
Yeah, it was. And like I said, it's hard to come up with new stuff in a casket match. So, kudos to them for doing that.
Huge credit to them for that.
Yeah.
So 2009 sees a series of casket matches that were never televised, but were very, I think, are fun to think about what might have been here. It's the final big house show series of casket matches, and that's going to take place between The Undertaker and the straight edge superstar CM Punk. This goes on November 5th in Frankfurt, Germany, with Taker getting the win, and then Taker's going to win 10 more against Punk across a European tour in November of 2009. I did find a little bit of fan footage of some of these matches out there on YouTube. Punk makes a classic mistake that we see throughout some of these casket matches where he hits the go to sleep and then he goes to pin Undertaker and hooks the leg. He's looking around for the referee. He wastes all this time going for a pin when he could have rolled Taker in the casket. Taker, of course, gets up, tombstones him, rolls him in there.
Boom.
Man, I remember their series of matches in 2009 being a little bit disappointing, wishing they could have been a little bit more.
Yeah.
Of course, the match at WrestleMania 29 was great. Would have been fun if one of these matches on pay-per-view that they had in 09 could have been a casket match instead.
Yeah, it would have been fun. I mean, they had Hell in a Cell. We could have had a casket. It would have been really fun to change it up and do something like that. So, yeah, it's a shame they didn't get to do more together. But
well, I encourage people to Google it and find it, because you can watch about half the match there, the end, 5 minutes or so of it. It's fun to see. The crowd's into it. You hear the fans chanting in German. It's a cool little fan cam video. I assume they were filming on like a digital camera back then in 09, not on a VHS or a phone or anything yet. But you could see a lot of like the old Canon, digital cameras that we always used to have back in those days. It's fun to see.
That's awesome. Well, that's going to bring us to The Undertaker's final casket match.
Wow.
9 more years before he had another one. At the greatest Royal Rumble, I guess WWE's first Saudi Arabia show in Jeddah, April 27th, 2018. He defeated the Y2J problem. Wait a minute.
No. Wait a second.
Hold on. Who do you wrestle?
Rusev Day.
Oh, no. I wish it was Rusev Day.
It was not on that day, sadly.
It was just Rusev. Multia, Bruska, Machka, whatever it says. I don't know.
Yeah, what happened with this build-up, man? It was so strange.
I remember us covering it, and it was a lot of back and forth. Supposed to be Jericho. No, he was wrestling for New Japan, so they didn't want. I don't know.
It was supposed to be Rusev first.
Supposed to be Rusev, and then it was no.
Bury me softly, brother.
Yeah, and then it was Jericho, but he had just done Wrestle Kingdom and was going to go back and do Dominion, and so Vince didn't want. I don't know. Anyway, he was going to fly him all the way there, pay him like $100,000 to get in the Royal Rumble for like 30 seconds at the end. So that's what he did. Actually, that's what he wound up doing.
He did end up being in the Rumble.
Yeah, but it was he defeats Rusev here. Short match, not a lot to it, but fun and really very cool that Rusev got to have that. A guy that we both, I think, agree could have done more in WWE. Don't even get me started on his AEW run, but it's more pathetic than his WWE run. But in my opinion, but I would love to see him come back and do some more in WWE. But really cool that he was the last casket match opponent of the Undertaker. No one will ever take that away from him. So cool.
It felt very old school,
It was.
Rusev's
old school.
Rusev's kind of an old school character, the big, nasty, bad foreign heel. And it was a fun way for Taker to be used. This is after the match with Roman Reigns in 2017, where we all thought he retired. Match that inspired us to start this podcast. Then he comes back at WrestleMania 34, faces Cena, squashes Cena, and then he basically squashes Rusev here. So it was like, we're seeing this final chapter of Undertaker where he's going to be used in very special, maybe shorter matches as a special attraction feature on the show. And it's, it's just fun. You're not looking for a 5-star classic here. You're looking for him to hit the high notes, hit the choke slam, hit the big boot, hit the tombstone, roll him in the casket, Shakespeare pose. And that's what you get here. You get a great big epic entrance on that giant Saudi Arabia stage. Great way to go out and to close out his casket match legacy, I think.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
So that does close out The Undertaker's career in casket matches. And I I tried to calculate this a couple times. I could be wrong. If someone wants to fact check me, one of our fellow PSK members, please do. From my count, my tabulations, and I wasn't always great in math, but I had The Undertaker at a final record of all of his casket matches of 147 wins, 21 losses, and 1 draw throughout his casket match career. So pretty dang impressive winning record, especially when it started out so rough in 1991.
So one-sided.
He definitely recovered there. As far as televised matches, which are, official canon on WWE, they don't count house show matches.
Right.
I have him at 13 wins, 4 losses, and 1 draw. Now that counts the dark match from the In Your House pay-per-view that ends up being on the VHS tape against Kama, and the MSG match against Vader, which was televised, and there are some WWE.com articles that count both of those matches as part of the official casket match legacy there. So still very impressive record when you just count it for TV matches.
And now he only lost to Bob. Well, go ahead. Yeah.
Well, yeah, the only people ever, house show and television, who defeated Undertaker in a casket match were Sid Justice, The Ultimate Warrior, Yokozuna, Vader, Goldust, and Bob and Randy Orton in that tag team there.
I'd have missed that if you'd asked me that.
That's a fun trivia question, right?
It's a fun trivia question.
And throughout his legacy, he had 28 unique casket match opponents throughout,
including Skip,
those ones, including one match against Skip. Would love to find some footage of that. So that is the Undertaker's complete casket match legacy. But we said we're doing the complete history of the casket match, which means we got to have a little appendix here at the end and talk about some other matches. We are talking Taker, so we won't really go through these, but we should mention them here. There are, from my records, there are 4 other casket matches that took place across the history of WWE. The first one took place in 1999, September 23rd, where Midian and Viscera picked up a win in a handicap casket match against Triple H. Yeah. Cool episode.
Great episode of SmackDown. Great episode. Yeah, that's he has to go through all those trials how was he?
5 different gimmick matches?
Yeah, 5 matches. Yeah, it's awesome. So that was fun.
Yeah, Midian gets to count himself as a casket match winner throughout history. And then Triple H competed in another one against Kane, this time on Raw. This is 2002, October 28th.
Why's Triple H always got to come steal Taker's signature matches? Like the Hell in a Cell, stealing the casket. No, I'm just kidding.
Well, he did lose this one, though. Shawn Michaels popped out of the casket, hit Triple H with Sweet Chin music, and that allowed Kane to win. Dude, I know I was watching Hardcore during this time. I don't really even remember this match. I remember their rivalry, of course, but I really don't remember this match.
What year was this? 03?
This was 02.
02? Sounds familiar. If I saw it, I'd be like, oh yeah, I remember that. I'd be like, yeah, there was a lot going on then.
There was a lot going on then. This one I do remember because I thought it was it was cool and fun and unique. January 29th, 2015, Daniel Bryan defeats Kane on SmackDown. Love to see Team Hell No coming apart, feuding with each other right here. I dug this little match. And then you should talk about this one, man. NXT Halloween Havoc 2022.
Yeah, Apollo Crews defeated Grayson Waller at the Performance Center. I thought this match was fantastic. It wasn't a 5-star banger like Sheamus would say, but it was fun. It was fun that it fit the Halloween Havoc gimmick, and Grayson Waller did all the mocking of Taker during it, which was very cool, like a heel should. So, and Apollo Crews got the win like the good guy should here in this match. So, really fun. They did a great job. It's probably the most, second to Triple H or second to Taker and Shawn, probably the second most like athletic as far as other stuff, casket match there is. So it was very fun. I'm glad they brought it back. I love when NXT looks to the past and does that kind of stuff. So do Bash at the Beach or War Games or Vengeance Day, like kind of like a St. Valentine's Day Massacre. So I love that they do that kind of stuff, and it was fun to bring this back. So
I need to go watch it. I think it's cool. I do dig Grayson Waller. I
He's
remember
fantastic.
I watched him on Survivor. He was on Australian
Wow.
Survivor.
It's crazy.
I watched that, and then I ended up saw him on NXT. I was like, I know that guy, and he's probably going to be a main roster star.
Oh yeah,
sooner than later.
I hope so. He's got it.
And then I thought we could mention, there are some other sort of evolutions of the casket match that have taken place throughout the years in WWE. I would call the dumpster match, which we've seen a couple times. Most famously,
you might call some of these casket matches dumpster.
I would call them dumpster fire matches.
I should have that.
They should combine the Inferno
They
match
should have
and the dumpster match.
It should be Baron Corbin's signature, the dumpster fire match. That'd be awesome. Anyway, yeah.
Well, you had the New Age Outlaws versus Cactus Jack and Terry Funk. It's the same match as a casket match, except there's a dumpster outside instead of a coffin. The Buried Alive match, which has taken place much fewer times than the casket match. It's a little bit harder to set up the arena for that, but it's essentially the next step of a casket match. Instead of throwing someone in a casket, you're literally throwing them in the grave and burying them under their grave, but sort of the same idea there. And then you talked about it earlier. The Undertaker had a last ride match, which is a casket match, except it's in a hearse instead of a casket. So sort of the same idea there. And then there have been a number of casket matches outside of the WWE. Of course, they didn't involve The Undertaker, but we should definitely mention them here as we close things out. One of them took place in Lucha Underground, and I didn't see this. I never really got into Lucha Underground, but this is pretty cool. Mil Muertes, who was drafted by Randy Turco onto his Ministry of Darkness on our Ministry of Darkness fantasy draft, another very fun episode if you never listened to that. He had a casket match a few times in Lucha Underground, and one of them was against a guy named Prince Puma, who you might recognize in the WWE as Ricochet.
Rick O'Shea.
In a casket match.
That's pretty cool.
Pretty cool. And then there was a handful of casket matches throughout the history of TNA, Impact, Total Nonstop Action. This one has got to be the most random casket match of all time. D'Lo Brown defeated Sonny Siaki on September 17th, 2003.
Sonny Siaki. So that was still probably September 03. I wonder if they're still doing the weeklies.
I think that's at the fairgrounds. Yeah, for sure.
Because they started in 02. Did it for, that's crazy.
Yeah, they weren't at they weren't on Fox Sports for another couple years, I don't think.
Yeah, that's crazy.
What a weird random casket match. I have no idea the story or the reasoning behind that.
Who cares?
This next one, man, your boy, the Man Called Sting defeats Abyss. It's called a Last Rites match. It takes place Destination X pay-per-view, March 11th, 2007. It's basically a casket match, except at the end, the casket match is raised to the ceiling after the match is over, into the heavens. I don't know why.
I mean, where does the wrestler go? He just gets out and walks down the stairs? That's crazy.
But interesting connection. Sting never faced Undertaker, but he did have a Last Rites / casket match there.
And Abyss is a producer.
Abyss faced the Pope, D'Angelo Dinero, at Final Resolution 2010 on December 5th in a casket match.
Should have faced the Pope in the Last Rites match.
That would have made more sense. Obviously. Mr. Anderson defeated Bully Ray on Impact Television on February 13th, 2014 in a casket match. And then this is kind of neat. The only women's casket match that I found record of in any major company took place May 31st, 2018 as Sue Young, who I believe Randy Turco also drafted, defeated Allie, who is the bunny on AEW TV in a casket match.
Wow. How about that? How about it? Yeah, I wouldn't have known half of those. So, because I didn't pay attention to most of that stuff.
Nope. I don't think I've ever seen any of those, but
no.
I have seen a couple of these. Why don't you talk about the AEW casket matches?
Yeah.
Or are they coffin matches? I think they're coffin matches.
Coffin matches, yeah. So this Darby Allin, that's his specialty, and I do love that he's kept that legacy alive. Brought it back. Cool. It's cool. He's an enigma, man. He's a unique character and got a lot of charisma for not having to say much. He just captivates the crowd. He's got it. But he's had two, I think, with Ethan Page at Fighter Fest 2021 on July 14th, and in Austin, Texas, against Andrade El Idolo, who knows where he is, on Dynamite in Pittsburgh in April of 2022. So another guy I think should go back to WWE and do better. But anyway, I'll stop. I'll stop there.
I haven't seen the match against Andrade. I watched the Ethan Page match live on TV. I think I texted you, man. I said that is one of the best coffin matches I have ever seen. I thought it was so much fun, so fresh, so unique. Darby Allin, he brought such a unique spin on it and twist on it. Obviously, he's a much different worker than The Undertaker, so he's going to bring a much different style to that match. I loved it. I thought it was so much fun, and I hope he does many, many more of these throughout All Elite Wrestling and keeps that legacy alive. It could become his signature match, much like it became The Undertaker's, because I think he's going to be around for a long, long time if he can stay healthy.
Kill himself.
Right?
Kill himself.
Unless he becomes Jeff Hardy.
Matches, So,
well, that
very cool.
Does it, man? That is the history of the casket match. Let me give you one last question, Travis. Right. Undertaker, like we said, his record is 147, 21-1. I would hate for him to sit at 147. He's so close to 150 wins. Yeah. If Undertaker were to have 3 more casket matches that he's going to win to get him to 150 wins, who would you put in there, modern day, against The Undertaker to make that happen? I got a couple ideas. I'll start out. I was literally going to say this before Monday night happened at Raw 30. I was going to say LA Knight would be one of the guys I would say, because he is such a, arrogant, smarmy, old school kind of heel. He could have the promos on TV, and it would be so satisfying to see him get the chokeslam and tombstone to get thrown in the casket against Undertaker. So that I'll put that one in there. That can be number 148.
Okay. So you're saying he comes back now and has 3 more.
He comes back in 2023. Okay. Similar to our Forbidden Door episode. Let's say he's on 3 pay-per-views in 2023. Who's he going to face in casket matches to get to 150?
LA Knight's 1. That's good. I think I'd like to see a Bray Wyatt.
Okay.
He can defeat Bray Wyatt in it, but there can be some kind of shenanigans, and Bray can Uncle Howdy this and skip out. It could, Bray's character taking a loss sometimes doesn't really matter. Just like sometimes Undertaker didn't,
Same thing.
Taker could take a loss and it was fine. So that'd be cool too.
Well, what do you think about Randy Orton for number 150? Because he never got that win back.
Never got that
Randy Orton beat him at 2005. Maybe he avenges the loss in a singles match. You could have Cowboy Bob in the crowd. Maybe he, takes a
cast on.
Yeah, he tries to interfere, but he could be a part of it. Again, it wouldn't hurt Randy in the slightest to lose that kind of match. And I think where Randy's at in his career right now, him and Taker could probably have a really simple but really good match.
Oh yeah, it'd probably be really good actually. So, you know what? Edge wouldn't be half bad either to have an Edge or Finn.
You could do something with Judgment Day.
Damian Priest would be great.
Taker is a big fan of his.
Oh, I didn't think about that.
You could have a lot of interference with Dom and Rhea Ripley even.
Damian Priest. Let's take Wyatt off. They've already had that. Let's go with Damian Priest.
I like that. I like that a lot.
Yeah. Let's do that.
Okay.
We got LA Knight, Damian Priest, and who'd you say?
Orton.
Randy, yeah. Let's do those 3.
Okay, I dig it.
That's good.
That's going to get Undertaker to 150 wins in our fantasy book. Cross our fingers. Pray. Maybe one day we could get that. So, folks, tell us what we missed. Fact check us. Tell us if I messed things up here. I did my best trying to research this and worked along with Travis to make this happen. But please, tell us if we missed something. Tell us if you were there. As Travis always says, if you were at any of these rare house show casket matches. I was never at any of them, but I'd love to hear. Surely some of our listeners were at one of these rare house show casket matches. That would be cool to hear.
Heck yeah.
And, all the usual stuff. Follow us at Talking Taker. subscribe to the show, give us a rating, go back and listen to our archive episodes. We had an awesome, very fun January doing the Rumble 98. Not only the Undertaker's match, but we had a bonus episode with Mike and JV from the Bottom Line Wrestling Cast. If you didn't catch that, please go back and catch that. I've also, I've been doing the Back from the Dead, reposting some classic Talking Taker episodes at the top of our feed because we've got over 200 episodes. We're in our 6th year of podcasting. And some of those early episodes you may have never heard, you may have never listened to. So want to repost those. Go check those out. I do a little quick intro and new just context for those. So go back and listen to those. And then let me pull this up.
If you're listening right now, the day this comes out, Royal Rumble was just a few days ago. So congratulations to the winner, Tajiri.
Hey-o!
Yeah.
Do you have any actual predictions?
My actual prediction is Cody Rhodes. I love it. It makes sense. I don't know why people were up in arms because the WWE announced him earlier and is coming back. We don't need everyone to be a surprise. I talked about this to you the other week. Triple H's return in 2002 was 3 weeks before the Rumble. It was amazing and epic. He came back. He won the Rumble, and it was perfect. Nobody cared. I hope Cody does the same thing. I hope he comes back. They announce his comeback. He's come out of the Rumble. I hope he wins it. Goes on to face Roman at Mania. So,
I'll tell you what, I have not been this intrigued as far as how we're going to get to WrestleMania, who's going to end up facing Roman Reigns, how this works out with the titles and all of that.
Yeah, I think I split them or not. So.
Huge story with the bloodline, but then you got Cody Rhodes. You still got the chance of The Rock. I know that there's been rumors saying he's not going to be there, but you never know. Never say never.
Elimination Chamber is in Montreal, which is where the KO and Sammy are from.
There's
so
a lot going
month
on
in between. So yeah, a lot of crazy stuff.
Real interesting to see what happens. I will be watching for sure. So what I want to do, I wanted to shout out a new listener to the show, Justin Bottoms, and he is at twinsons_77 on Twitter. He messaged me regarding our last episode, I think it was our last episode. It was something we talked about. Maybe it was on social media or something. I don't know. But we talked about Raw 30 earlier. He messaged me about Raw 25. Oh, that's right. He started at the beginning. And he's been going through our catalog recently. Nice. So he just recently started. So we talked about Raw 25. He said that The Undertaker came out that night with no gloves on. He came out in like the robe, but he didn't have, the MMA gloves on. And he said that's because he left the gloves in the ring at WrestleMania 33. And we must have wondered about that or not realized that on that episode. And he gave us the correction there. So appreciate that, nice. Justin. And thank you so much. I always think it's incredible. And it just makes me smile whenever I hear someone start at the beginning and has gone through it. And I think, that's so cool about this podcast is it's evergreen. You can do that. Mm-hmm. You can go through and pick and choose. If you're just watching random stuff on Peacock and you're watching a pay-per-view from 2003 or 1996, you can go listen to our
We'll fill you right in.
Yeah. You can hear us and talk about it. It's a great way to relive that.
Is it Twin Sons?
Twin Sons.
I wonder if he's a fan of Star Wars or something. Tatooine, the Twin Sons.
I'm going to guess probably, yeah. Want to shout out to some other old school friends and new school friends of the podcast. The Bottom Line Wrestling Cast, of course, going through the career of Stone Cold Steve Austin. They just recently did an episode about Celebrity Deathmatch and Stone Cold Steve Austin's involvement in that. A show I watched all the time back in high school. Loved it so much. Want to give a shout out to our boy Pokey's little dog, Randy Turco. Congratulate him on the birth of his second child, of his first daughter. Congratulations, Randy. Hope you're giving that Take Her Easy onesie some new life with the second baby. I want to give a shout out to our boy Tommy from Watch Along Wrestling, Watch Along Tommy. He's been going through some health issues, and we want to wish him the best. But it should have released by now, but I was actually on his YouTube channel ranking the top 10 Royal Rumble matches of all time. Me and him went back and forth ranking our favorite Royal Rumbles, so check that out on his YouTube channel. I'm sure we have shared it and put it on our social media page by now. Steven Zeman, Collecting Dead Man. Want to shout him out as always with his podcast, often with Randy Turco on the show as well. Do you remember Matt Northrup, Travis?
Yeah.
From Lakeside. He commented on our Instagram page, old Hurley Mancino, as we used to call him.
Nice.
I posted a picture for Raw 30 of Taker and Damian Demento doing a little face-off, and it made me laugh out loud. He commented, Damian Demento holding on to that hair till the final count. LOL.
That's right.
Damian's little ponytail that he's got back there. I loved that. Thank you for that, Matt. You made me laugh out loud. Appreciate that. And then a new podcast. We got to shout this out, Travis, because how about this? What a small world, man. The Wrestling Winos podcast. They are at Wrestling Winos on Twitter and Instagram. They just started their podcast, just came out, and it is, I believe it's 5 women that have started this podcast, sort of like The View of wrestling podcast. You're talking about just about modern day wrestling, what's going on, their opinions, their thoughts on it. But one of the hosts, we go way back, man. We went to high school with Monique from the Wrestling
went to
Winners
elementary
podcast.
and middle school with her. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, I guess we went to middle school.
Street over
because we went to the same middle school, but you went to elementary school.
Yeah, Monique lived one street behind where I live, or in front of where I live, wherever. Grew up, and so very cool. Congratulations on this podcast. Glad you guys are doing this. So very exciting.
What did you say about her as a wrestling fan back in the day?
Oh, Monique loved Big Show. She loved Big. We'd be on the bus on the way to school talking about Raw and Nitro, and she'd always want to talk about what Big Show was doing. She loved Big Show. That's what I remember.
That's amazing. I wonder if she still is a fan. But she and all of the women on this podcast acknowledge the tribal chief. That was a big topic of conversation.
No doubt.
On
I
the last
acknowledge
podcast.
them too.
I'm sure they enjoyed the Raw 30 episode. But check them out. We want to plug them and just wish them the best of luck as they embark on their podcasting endeavor. Wrestling Winos. Go check that out if you get a chance. Man, I don't know what the heck we're doing next month. The month of March, I guess it's technically WrestleMania season, but nowadays
we could do WrestleMania
April
March
is
and
WrestleMania.
April, so
yeah, we might.
We could do both.
So we'll talk about it. We'll discuss it. A lot of great anniversaries coming up this year as far as WrestleMania matches. So we'll discuss that off air. But, tune in March 1st for the next episode, Talking Taker. Look for a new edition of Back from the Dead on the podcast feed. And, man, that's all I got, man. Appreciate you doing this. This was fun. Very unique, very different. I hope people enjoyed it.
Good idea, man. Thanks for taking us to class, Professor Casket. We hope you guys got your PhD in casketology tonight. You successfully passed 101 to 501 class. So
there will be a pop quiz.
There will be a pod quiz at the end. Yes.
Quiz. Boom.
Exactly.
Thank you.
Anyway,
for that.
If you were there in any of these, especially the Tel Aviv Israel match, we would love to know that. What did you think of Raw 30? What did you think of this episode? Give some suggestions for other episodes we could do coming up. And thank you for always listening. Be safe out there, and as always, easy. There you go. Peace.
Cool, man.
All right, people. Cool beans. That's good.